Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions on a Wednesday, 4 p.m. BST. It's a pleasure to bring back Gary Huang. He is with me today. I was on the 7-Figure Summit earlier on in the week. On the Mindset Day, we done a pre-record. And then in the evening, we done a live Q&A with Liran Hirschkorn. Who else was on there as well? There was Emma.
Emma, Shermer Tamir.
And Tim Jordan. Timbo was on there.
Tim Jordan, yeah. Tim was there as well. So it was a great live, talking about the mindset. That was from day one of the 7-Figure Seller Summit. So also love what you shared about resilience, sharing a little bit about your story, Danny, for those of the people that don't know it, how you were able to bounce back from that and, create about like 3 separate businesses to diversify. I think that's the way to do it. That's awesome.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, it was obviously a long slog, and it still becomes a slog now. But it's again, do you know what funny thing about mindset? So I was just sharing to the group. So when I thought about mindset before I adjusted my mindset, it was always like, oh yeah, talking about mindset again, because there was that side of things where someone's trying to flog you something. Use your mindset to use a card. So there was a point where I didn't take mindset as seriously as I do now, and I take it massively seriously. And I think that's the biggest adjustment is really focusing on the mindset aspect, because then that leads to better things everywhere else. It's like the 80-20. You can work hard, but mindset is going to make a massive difference to your approach. You've always got to work hard anyway, but you can work 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week for someone else, or you can do it for yourself, or you can work on stuff that's not relevant. But let's get into this. So can you give the audience a little bit of background on yourself, please?
Definitely. Well, I'm the founder and host of the 7-Figure Seller Summit. Currently, I'm in Japan, and it's 12 midnight. So if my voice is kind of scratchy, I apologize for that. I've been up 18 hours straight. And so basically, I'm an Amazon seller myself. I've been, selling for many years. And, I would go to a lot of these in-person events. And that's how we met, Danny. I think it was in Hong Kong some years ago at the Global Sources Summit.
Yeah, it was my first one, April 2016 we met, I think it was.
Yeah. And then every time I went, I would learn a lot. And I remember, I think one of the sessions Danny was talking about, expanding into UK, and he gave some great tips about, doing like the whole HMRC and all that stuff. And I just followed that to a T. I'm like, this stuff, this is gold, right? But then fast forward a couple of years, 2018, my wife and I decided to start a family. So, she got pregnant and I was grounded. So I couldn't fly out to meet with you guys in Hong Kong anymore. I kind of felt isolated in Shanghai. I've been on the ground in Shanghai since 2008, before Corona. We can talk about that and why I'm in Japan right now. But basically, I felt isolated, and I didn't want to get left behind. So I thought, why not invite these 7-figure sellers, these Amazon very successful sellers, to come online to teach me and to teach everyone else. So that's kind of the origin story behind the 7-Figure Seller Summit. Why I decided to launch it. We first started it in August of 2018, and we're actually launching the 3rd summit. We're in the middle of it right now. Danny was on day one. He was talking about the mindset and the skill set of successful e-commerce entrepreneurs. So that's kind of the backstory behind why I decided to create this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, so let's just quickly talk about you've been on lockdown in COVID. You're over in Japan. You're living out a suitcase at the moment. And you don't mind me saying that you're sitting there recording, it's midnight, your wife's asleep next to you. The barriers are closing in on you. You haven't got that wide open space. You don't speak the language. You don't have family and friends there. How's COVID been treating you, and how you been staying on top of it?
I think, there's a silver lining, Danny, to every situation. Basically, we were in Shanghai earlier last year. And then we also have a baby, a 21-month-old son. And I see Rahul. He just saw me 14 hours ago. So we did a live earlier today. And basically we decided to take a holiday somewhere warm last November. So we went to Thailand, we went to Vietnam, and we decided we were planning on going back to Shanghai after Chinese New Year. But obviously COVID hit, the whole plan went to the toilet, and I couldn't go back to China, and I couldn't go back to the States where I'm from originally because it was very serious. And we decided to come to Japan. And but yeah, we're here in Okinawa. We landed late January, and it was relatively stable and safe since then. But basically, I can run my e-commerce business remotely wherever I am. So I'm super blessed with that. And the fact that I can connect with, my e-com friends like you, Danny, people like, Tim Jordan, the other people that we had on the session. So I think that, that's awesome. And I'm just trying to help as many people as I can because, despite the fact that we're in a global recession, probably the biggest one in our lifetimes, at the same time, some people say that COVID-19 has been like an injection of growth serum into Amazon. It's just like the Hulk. It's just like growing like crazy right now. It's growing out of control. So I feel like, right now we're going into Q4. And as everybody knows, Q4 is the busiest time of year shopping online. This year probably is going to break all records. So I love what Michael Jordan said. I'm dating myself, but I'm old school. Fourth quarter, he said it's winning time, right? It's winning time. So he's going to go out, he's going to crush it. So I think, that's why I wanted to, host the summit right now, going into Q4, because we interviewed about 35 seven-figure Amazon sellers, e-commerce experts from all these different areas. We have 5 days of content. Day 1 is mindset and fundamentals. Day 2 is talking about branding, marketing. Day 3 is about scaling your business. And day 4 is about profitability, so you can keep more money in your pocket. And then day 5 is all about exits and building your business to sell it, because that's the end goal for a lot of people. So that's kind of the picture behind the seven-figure seller summit.
Cool. I'm going to read some of the comments, and then let's get into some of the reasons that you found what makes a successful seven-figure seller as well. Rahul says, hello again, Gary. Just been 14 hours since I saw you last, and we'll see you again after 8 hours. Well, awesome dedication you put in. Owen says, hi, Danny and Gary, love you guys, what you put in the time into creating these summits. Louise says, hello, Gary, really enjoying the summit. I've been watching it like a Netflix series. Totally agree. Mindset is vital. Like the blueprint for business building. And then Owen's just come back and said he's read a lot about of where you're based at the moment. So give me some key takeaways. What are that you've interviewed 36 people with? If people don't understand, that's a monstrous task to do, because it's not just turning up for the recording. It's selecting the speakers, it's determining the content. Then you've got to book in 36 very busy people in and around that, and you've got the time difference, and you've probably got internet lag and everything else. Then you've got post editing where it's required, like the pre-rolls, post-rolls, dealing with advertisers and everything that goes with it. But that aside, walk me through some of the
and you got a baby. You got a
21-month-old baby, and you're on the lockdown in the middle of Japan. So other than that, which is walk in the park, of course. Let's talk about these seven-figure sellers.
Definitely.
You're taking away.
Yeah. So one of the big takeaways, at least for me, was from day 1 about mindset. And then it's from our mutual friend, Liron Hirschkorn. And then he said that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. So Liron shared that no entrepreneur's first thing that they did was a massive success. It's not a straight line to success, right? If they fail one thing, then they can do something else. They pivot from that. Okay. And then I agree, because with the majority of the seven-figure sellers I've spoke with, their main success was not their first product. Okay. The first product may have been, if we talk like baseball analogies, maybe it's like a single, maybe it's a double if they're lucky, but sometimes they strike out. But the important thing is they went back up to the plate to take another swing at it. So, it's not a straight line. It's part of success. Everybody fails. I know that, Danny, I love how you invite people on to talk about their failures, right? Because we learn from our mistakes. So, similarly, I interviewed another seven-figure seller, Kellyanne Fidio. she exited her Amazon business for over 7 figures. And then she shared that when she created her brand, there were a lot of peaks and valleys. And, she was a former lawyer. She's a mompreneur, and she's based in Southern California. And then, it wasn't a smooth journey. And I find that it never is. A lot of times people don't talk about that. But the key takeaway is failure is part of success, but it's not a straight line to success.
Yeah. No, I said the same thing to you. On my interview, it's like I'm a massive failure, meaning that I literally, the only reason I've carved out a bit of success in my quantifiable way, I call it my success that I'm happy with. I'm not comparing myself to anyone else, is that I run out of ways to fail in order to get there. I've had some catastrophic failures along the way. But eventually I started making better decisions, and then that timeline switched over. And I think you can learn so much from your failure, but you need to have that resilience to bounce back. So Liran is absolutely right. And I think it's really important is if you've gone through life and haven't had any failures, and then you hit COVID, like for me, touch wood, COVID hasn't touched the sides because of what's gone on before, right? It's scary for people, COVID. There's the uncertainty. We're in this biggest recession. But if you've never had like massive setbacks before, then COVID would be more of a struggle. That's not your fault. COVID might be your first struggle, and that's a good hurdle to get over, so that next time it's that callousing over of your mind and the problems that you face. It's like when you start a business, right? Before you reach cash flow, you struggle, and then you have your darkest hour just before dawn, when it's time to pay the mortgage and your bills at the end of the month. But eventually that stuff is like, you're so used to it that you sleep very, very well at night because it becomes part of the fabric. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where the callousing comes.
Yeah, I agree 100%. In other words, I come to expect it. I know that thing's going to happen. I mean, Amazon's going to suspend my best-selling product. I know it's coming, but I mean, I do some, I take some precautions, right? So I'm tracking, all of the, all the sales, I have like all my IP set up. So, I mean, you gotta be resilient. And I mean, after a while, you just expect it. I mean, it doesn't catch us by surprise anymore.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. So carrying on from there. So we had Kellyanne, you was discussing the ups and downs that she faced as a mum. And as a former lawyer, obviously working in corporate's a lot different to jumping into the entrepreneurial game with no nest egg to take care of you. But she's done exceptionally well. I know she knows Liran quite well. I haven't really had much chance to speak with her, but I'd like to get her on the show at some point.
Yeah, she would be, I think she would be a great guest. And kind of jumping ahead, because Kellyanne actually is featured on day 5 talking about exits, because she sold her business for over 7 figures, and then she really discussed the thinking behind why she wanted to sell it. And I mean, I think some people were asking, like, why would you want to sell a 7-figure business? Isn't that like the golden goose? So I mean, it was very interesting because she discussed some reasons. And once you hit 7 figures, to go from 7 to 8, it's like a whole different skill set,
different
in terms of skill. Yeah, I mean, different game, different skill set, and you need a capital injection. You're scaling your team and your employees. And then she said that that's when she had like a real wake up call, because she realized she built it to a level that she wanted to take it. And she just made a personal decision. It was a time in her life, in her family's life. The biggest asset was her Amazon business. I mean, think about it. It was more money. It was worth more than all the money she had in her bank, probably more than her like house, car, etc. So when all your cash and your wealth is tied up in one Amazon business, it's very risky. You got all your eggs in one basket, and then that basket belongs to Jeff Bezos, right? So she wanted to take some cash off the table. And then she shared that over 50% of a seller's income usually will come from the exit, from the sale. So she really wanted to take some risk off the table. So that was one of the big reasons why she decided to sell it.
Yeah, your richest day is when the check clears in the account, and that's the day. That's why they say, we'll go back having multiple businesses and stuff. As an Amazon seller, you make your money when you sell. The services that are provided to you around it is they make their money whilst you're still active. Yeah. So like, that's the difference between the two of getting the exit, but you take that massive risk because let's look at valuations. Let's just say that you were doing pre-COVID you were about to sell your business, but it was non-essential goods, there's a good chance that it becomes shaky in terms of closing the deal. But I mean, Thrasio and places, people like that just carried soldiering on and buying companies. They're looking at the bigger picture. But independents who are buying up businesses, that would have been a catastrophic time for a lot of people that were selling non-essential goods or were about to do an exit because the investors are possibly getting cold feet.
Yeah, yeah. And something that was very interesting, Danny, when you mentioned that, is that right now, if we look at the state of the whole Amazon, marketplace for, businesses that want to sell, I interviewed Chris Schifferling. He's a
Yeah.
partner at Global Wired Advisors. They work
Mm,
with many 7-8 figure
mm,
businesses, and they're a M&A mergers and acquisitions firm. So he shared that since COVID-19 began, there's been a rush of investors trying to get into the world of e-commerce.
mm,
In the whole like private equity and investment world, these investors are really heavily
mm,
leveraged in traditional bricks and mortar stores, so like offline retail.
mm,
So now everyone, is forced indoors. Shopping is going from offline to online. So there's been a tremendous sales lift for e-commerce. So,
yeah.
obviously there's certain exceptions, travel,
Mm,
for example, luxury,
yeah.
but, other industries such as health and beauty, working from home with all these products, air
Mm,
filtration, et cetera, they're
mm.
getting a huge
Schooling
lift.
stuff as well, with kids being
Schooling,
homeschooled. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So he's seeing that it's just starting to happen, and then when it reaches a tipping point over time, then demand will increase and supply will fall. So I
Mm.
thought that was a very interesting perspective from an M&A perspective. A lot of these institutional investors, they're, it's a mad rush to get into e-commerce right now.
Yeah, cool. Some more comments here. Tiff says, "Good morning, mates." Wellington says, "Good morning, guys. Danny should do a podcast on yourself, telling us your failures and successes. You've been in the game for so long. Would love to hear it." There's some bits and pieces out there. I've never done like an in-depth with me fully switching the tables, but I tell you now, the failures will probably take about 10 episodes and the successes be about 20 minutes. So yeah, maybe save that for another day. But I do republish some podcasts that covers some of my failures, and there's been a lot of them. It will take a lot of time to actually cover them. Tiff says, "Very good point. Having all your eggs in one basket seems very risky." What else have we got in terms of some of these sellers? What are the other things that you've gleaned?
Yeah, I think that going back to the fundamentals, when it comes to finding a profitable product idea, I mean that's like one of the 80/20s of the whole business, right? You got
Mm,
to find a product that has good demand, isn't too competitive, and then Sharon Evan, she's a 7-figure seller and mompreneur based in Israel.
mm,
She says something very interesting because she doesn't rely on software tools when selecting product ideas. And then, in fact, she shared that when she first looks for products, she looks for a problem that she wants to
mm,
solve. So Sharon believes that when solving a problem, you will find a way to sell that product. So she kind of reverses the whole outlook.
yeah.
So after she finds the problem, then she niches it down. So
Mm,
she finds for example, she finds a product that everyone is selling and
mm,
people think it's too saturated, but she just
mm.
sells to one specific type of buyer. Okay,
Yeah.
she really niches it down. So
She
in other
finds the
words,
product, studies the problem, and then filters down from the problem to redevelop the product around it.
yeah. So
Yeah.
in other words, while everyone else is like a small fish in a big
Mm,
pond,
yeah.
Sharon chooses to be the big fish in the small pond.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for example, like a kitchen utensil, like a fork. So
Mm,
rather than aiming to sell like a generic fork that everybody has, that's way too competitive, right?
yeah.
Instead, she focuses on a niche with a problem. So, for example, senior citizens, like the elderly population, they
Yeah.
may have special needs. Maybe they have arthritis with their hands. So she would take a product like a fork with a lot of demand, create a
Mm,
product that has an easier grip on it. So it helps solve the problem for the senior citizen that's trying to use the fork to eat it. So
yeah.
after identifying the niche, then she performs the keyword research to validate this demand.
Yeah.
So the key takeaway is that, you don't want to disqualify a product idea just because it's too popular. In fact, there could be opportunities in that little sub niche in that category that you can dominate. So focus on the specific customer and solve their problem.
Mm-hmm. Sounds cool. Who else have we got on your list there? Let you take a swig of water.
Yeah, so just
get you hydrated. Yeah,
get me hydrated, keep me fresh. One of the other seven-figure sellers we interviewed that had a very unique business was Chad McGilsey. Okay, Chad McGilsey, seven-figure seller. He exited his e-commerce business in the pet niche for over $1 million, and then he shared that one of the ways he was so successful is that he built a really strong brand, and he built a very strong brand and audience. But the way he did it was unique because it was through philanthropy. Okay, so he shared that he focused on pet owners who felt that their pet was a member of their family. Okay, not just an animal. Okay, so he really focused on these people that really consider their pets family. So he went even deeper. So he partnered with a philanthropic cause which helps support pet owners whose pets suffer from cancer. Okay, these pet owners, like their pets, they require surgery while their owners didn't have the money to pay for it. So Chad decided to run a campaign where if his customers bought his product, shared a picture of them and their pet using the product, then he would donate a portion of the sales to support this charity, this philanthropic cause. And then after he did that, he even shared back a picture of the animal after it got treatment with the customer. And then that really engaged the audience and the relationships. So this really strengthened his customer loyalty. And then this is one of the key ways that Chad was able to differentiate his brand, build a list, build an audience, really engage with them. He even said that, if there was like a comment on social media where, people say, oh, the dog is just an animal, like literally his audience will like jump on that. And then like they would just like
social warriors.
Yeah, social warriors, exactly. So this is one of the more interesting stories that I think that we featured on the summit. And then Chad was able to differentiate his brand and eventually exit for over 7 figures.
Excellent. What else we got here? Miriam says, wow, amazing topic. Thank you. Wellington said, lol, probably because I said 5 episodes of failure and 20 minutes on the successful one. Tiff says, does he have any tips for brainstorming product ideas? Love the show today.
Yeah, I think what we mentioned earlier.
With Sharon,
with Sharon. But also one of the other takeaways is hobbies. Like hobbies, like what you're into, going deep in the hobby. And something else that Chris Davey, 7-figure seller, and our mutual friend in Shenzhen, he's your fellow countryman, Danny, from England, but he has a very unique strategy. He calls it the up and down product strategy. So when he looks at Amazon and he sees like a particular niche where everyone has like a very cheap version of this product, low price version, he goes high end. So when everyone else is low, he goes high. So his argument is, a lot of times, especially in America, people have like X amount of budget to buy that thing. Maybe it's like $50 for that kitchen thing or that gift for mom, etc. So a lot of times on Amazon, people are just like so price sensitive. There's like a huge gap in the market. So the up and down method, look at a product category and then you can try to go up. And then of course he validates it. Like he goes off of Amazon, he uses sites like Pinterest, like Etsy. He even goes really deep into subreddits to get like really, deeper research. And then he also does the keyword research as well. But I think that that's another method, thinking outside the box, coming from a 7-figure seller. And then he's able to keep his profit margins very healthy, north of 30%, using strategies like this.
Yeah. Rahul says to Tiffany here, look around at what people, what they do when they're sitting at home. They bake, they cook, they exercise, they play games, etc. There's enough ideas to go through there. What else do you have for us, Gary?
Yeah. Another very, like putting all your eggs in one basket is very risky, right? So another 7-figure seller, Alan Ioff,
Mm.
he has his own brand in baby products, and then he was able to strengthen his brand so much. I mean, he was so confident he revealed his brand. I mean, like normally nobody talks about their brand, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he shared his brand on the summit. It's called Lumi World. They're into baby products like baby night lights, and then he said that he was able to diversify off of Amazon on offline retail stores and like their online sites as well. So
Yeah.
he said, before he started this brand, he was a wholesaler selling other people's stuff. Eventually, he got burned on Amazon. He got his brand suspended for no reason.
Mm.
So, through this, he decided to diversify his sales off of Amazon to stores like Home Depot, like Target, Bed Bath and Beyond, mom and pop shops all over the states. And in his session, he shared the exact strategy that he used to take his product selling on Amazon to a branded company that's nationally recognized in stores like Target, Walmart, to
Mm.
really skyrocket sales, diversify his platform to cut risks so nobody can steal his brand. And
Mm.
then one of the first steps that he took was that he built an institutional website. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is different from a Shopify store or e-commerce site for customer sales. The institutional site is tailored to retail buyers and
Mm.
showcases his brand in a professional way. So it creates some credibility and then makes his business look like a real company and brand. And then he even added a 1-800 number, physical office location, even though he was just working out of his apartment starting out, to convey a more professional look to tailor to his wholesale buyers. So this helped him quickly diversify his sales off of Amazon and grow his brands in retail stores nationwide. So he's not afraid of copycats, because
Mm.
people can walk into a store like Target and see, Lumi World product, and they can see it in Bed Bath and Beyond. They can see it on their sites as well. So, he has the brand recognition. He has this, built up brand equity. So it makes him a lot stronger compared to just a private label brand too. So this helps, diversify and cut his risk as well.
Sounds good. Tiffany says, "Thank you. I wouldn't know because I do all I do is work." Talking of referencing earlier on, Rahul's bounced back and says, "Kids and women rule our lives. Target them." I think the translation there was what you meant to say is, kids and women are a massive part of our lives. So then maybe target them. So I'll get you out of a hook there, mate. You don't want to be saying
Yeah.
that. Miriam's come back and said, "Brainstorming ideas. I try and think of my past part-time jobs, healthcare, hospitality. You can recognize the gaps in the products offered on Amazon, which is another person could never see, but due to your experience that you could." Good idea. Using past domain experiences.
That's a huge point. I know someone that became a 7-figure seller, husband and wife team based in Australia.
Yeah.
The wife was like, her father was very sick. He had some
Yeah.
illness. He was bedridden. But based on that, they identified this thing that they were using. It's not a mainstream thing. Like someone told you what it was, like nobody would, like you probably wouldn't know unless you had like a sick family member. But
Yeah.
based on that, they did the demand, they did the validation on Amazon. They saw the demand, the low competition. They created a 7-figure business out of that. So, I don't know who it was earlier that said that, but I mean, just keep your eyes open because there's so many opportunities, especially right now. Because going through COVID, there's that saying, it's like auto racing. You overtake people not on the straightaway, but on the curves, right? Like when people are
Yeah.
curving, that's when you can overtake. Right now, COVID, this is probably like the biggest curve in our lifetime.
Mm.
Just our day to day, and the fact that we've become like digital natives, and accelerated e-commerce growth like 4 to 6 years, and even the elderly, they're shopping on Amazon. They're more comfortable with it. So
Yeah.
I think there's huge opportunities right now for everybody watching today.
Yeah. Makes sense. What else have you got for me?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about mindset, about product selection. I think the next step that we're talking about for day 3 is scaling your business, right? So
Mhm.
let's say you're a 6-figure business, you want to hit 7 figures. How do you do that? So I had a informal poll of all the 7-figure sellers who are on the summit, and I asked them, what was the number one mistake that you made on the way to 7 figures? Okay,
Yeah.
and a number of them admitted the same mistake. Okay,
Mm.
and that is, they hired too late. they
Right.
hired too late. So you really have to hire so you can work on your business and not in your business. I know Danny is really good at this, and
Yeah.
maybe he can share more about this a little later as well.
Yeah. Be
People,
clear. I'm not a
yeah,
7-figure seller, but I've got 3 6-figure businesses, but I work on the businesses instead of the businesses because there's so many to do. But yeah, hiring early and nurturing is very important.
yeah, 100%. I mean, some of the 7-figure sellers have said, trying to do too much myself is still a problem.
Mm,
Not outsourcing quicker, trying to be a superwoman, which results in you working in your business rather than on it.
mm,
Take, for example, Egla Radic, a
mm.
7-figure seller based in Estonia. She said
Yeah.
one of her top mistakes she made on the way to 7 figures is not hire soon enough. So
Mm,
once she realized this, she started to list everything that was repetitive that she did 3 to 4 times a month. And
mm.
this became a list of tasks for future employees. And then she created standard operating procedures and taught them to her hires. And then she shared that we as entrepreneurs, everybody watching today, we are creators. So we're
Yeah.
always bringing more money in, and then we're hired to bring new money. So we need to buy more time. Okay, we're
Mm,
hired to bring new money, so we need to buy more time. How do you do that? That's why we need to hire people to help
yeah.
us. This way we can create new time. So that's one of the biggest challenges when it comes to scaling. So we interviewed Mike Jackness.
Yeah.
Um, he's a 7-figure seller. He runs Ecom Crew, and he has a remote team of VAs in the
Yeah.
Philippines. He has an office of VAs in the Philippines. He shared a list of the tasks that his VAs help him with, including customer service, social media. Like for me, social media is like a huge time sink. I can spend like 2 hours on my phone and I don't even know where time
Mm,
went, right? He has VAs that do like influencer management, graphic design, photography, PPC, article writing, SEO, email marketing, reviews management. He actually had his VA manager, Mia,
mm.
co-lead the training session on the 7-figure seller summit, which I thought was really awesome. Just the fact that he was able to build that trust and that that professionalism. And then he said that that's one of the key things. I mean, just building the
Mm.
company culture, the rapport. So by outsourcing these tasks, this frees up Mike's time so that he can focus on more valuable tasks that make him money. So perhaps acquiring another business, working on his Ecom Crew podcast, and more.
Yeah.
So these are all different ways that people are scaling their business, especially when it comes to hiring.
Yeah. No, makes total sense. What else you got for us?
Yeah. And, a lot of times, obviously branding is super important, right? A lot of times people only think about offense, adding this new product, but, sometimes you got to think about defense as well.
Mm,
So one of the key things is brand protection, especially if you're an Amazon seller. You could get suspended, you could get hijacked. Again, Kellyanne Fideo, she said that her private label brand, it's her biggest asset, right?
mm,
So it's super risky. That's why I think it's important. Many sellers, they're looking for ways to protect their brands from hijackers that might piggyback on your listings to use your brand to take away your sales, or intellectual property theft. Your competitors might try to sell copycat products, steal your images, copywriting, and getting suspended. So it's important to play defense. There's a number of ways to protect your business, including filing for a trademark for your brand, getting Amazon brand registry, filing a patent on your product, so you have a unique design that you created that can help protect you from copycats, documenting all the details of your product and your packaging and your entire listing to have as evidence in
mm,
case people try to steal your IP. It's very important, according to CJ Rosenbaum and
mm.
Rob Siegel. From the Amazon sellers lawyers, they work with many people to help protect their brand. So, sometimes despite your best intentions, Amazon, they may take your account down, and you need to, file a case with them.
Yeah.
So, it's important that you document all this evidence. And, similar to outsourcing other tasks, you might want to outsource this as well. I mean, if a professional can, have a higher chance of getting your account back, consider these people like Amazon sellers lawyer, CJ, increase your chances of protecting your brand and getting your account back if you get suspended. So the key takeaways, you got to play some defense as well. Okay. You got to
Yeah.
protect your brand. It might be your biggest asset.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, first things when you got to start up, you're scrappy, you end up doing most of the work. But then it get to the point where once you got it to cash flow, that's when you hire your third party vendors, VAs and everything else, or even earlier, depends how much cash flow you got. And then once you've got there, then you can work on the business. These people can work in the business. You need to train them, nurture them, show them love, take care of them. And there's going to be specific tasks that you as a business owner has to do. You're the rainmaker. You're the one who's got to push it forward. But there are certain things you've got to get away from. Like if you can't stand doing accounting, get rid of it. Like I always say, there's pretty much run a spreadsheet, stuff that you hate to do. Then stuff that are repetitive tasks that you don't need to do, stuff you love to do, and stuff that you have to do as a business owner, like managing money, paying people. You're not going to give that to a VA and stuff to do that work. And then shoot videos for everything. Just get a Screencastify, Chrome plugin for like 15 euros or whatever it is. Just shoot rough videos. Okay. You haven't got to write the SOPs. This is where the next bit comes in, is that you go and do interviews for those positions or VAs, or it may be. Even when it comes to the interview process, I never look at the first emails that come back, because they're normally just carpet bomb your inbox with just the CV. So what I do is I ask them to put something in the title, which is I've embedded a long way down the description. And then those emails that come back, I then send them 5 questions, and I may not even read those. And then I send them another 5. And if they've jumped through all of those hoops and met those requirements, and you've gone from 50 down to 5, you interview those 5, and the ones that you like of those 5, you pay them, you give them some of those videos to write up the SOPs, and then you can check them. If they're obviously overseas, you want to look at their grammar, their spelling, their attention to detail, all that kind of stuff. And then you can learn a lot from them writing SOPs, is whether they get it or not. And then you can then shoot them another video to go back to give them feedback on their SOPs. By the time you plan to employ that person in that position, you then week 1 give them all of those videos and get them to write all the SOPs, right? So if you think about it, it's visual, it's auditory, because they watch the video, they're listening, and then they're going to document everything. So they take it from the short-term memory into their long-term memory. That all gets documented. They send the SOPs to you. You check the SOPs, then you send them another video back again. So you're not writing any of these SOPs to feedback. They then make adjustments to those documents. Most of the training then's done. If they leave in a few months' time for whatever reason that may be, you've got SOPs for the next person that comes through the door. When the next person comes through the door, you take them same SOPs, you give them the SOPs, you give them the original videos, and then you get them to update and say, can you improve on these SOPs? That does part of the training as well. And so constantly you're looking at the 80-20 rule, where you're not doing that work. Because I think the biggest problem with SOPs, either people just want to buy them off the shelf, which is not suitable for your business, or they procrastinate because they can't be asked to sit there and write all those, because it's overwhelming. But it don't matter if you're paying someone else to do it, and it becomes part of their job. So they get on the training job by designing the SOPs, and sometimes they'll come up with better procedures than you have because they have certain experiences elsewhere. Then that gets added to the SOPs. Then your business becomes more efficient.
100%. I mean,
anyway,
drop,
I went on a bit of a rant there, didn't I? But that's the easiest way, I would say, of doing it. And it's not easy. No business is easy. But so head down on the business, get to cash flow, get people on as soon as possible, stabilize the business, take existing cash flow, take your bets, roll them into other businesses that you're into. And that's how you can grow your second or your third business. Some people are happy to just do one. I know people like Michelle Venton, who exited last year, got legacy money off the table. She thinks I'm crazy with all the projects I go on. And she's like, well, I've only do this one thing. And I said, well, who's right? You are. Because I haven't exited. I never grew an 8-figure business and nearly exited. But I think it comes down to personality as well. I like to have loads of things going on. I like to put out fires. I like the juggling. Some people just want to follow a very straightforward way, very focused. But I have to have like controlled chaos, if that makes sense, or else I'll get bored really quickly. Does it make sense? So you have to find that building your business is, you've got to build in your personality, that business as well. And if you can spend as much time on doing stuff that you love to do and have to do, then you're never going to do a day's work in your life.
Yeah. I think it's also smart to diversify, right? I mean, it's great that Michelle Benton, she was able to exit for 8 figures, but
Yeah,
you know, Danny, at least, I mean, you're diversified, not just in your Amazon business. You have your agency as well.
yeah,
You have your conferences as well. You have
yeah.
like your other things going
Summits
on as well.
in yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But what
So
she's done is that she'll then, I won't go into that, it's her private stuff, but then she's taken some money and reinvested, wisely as
right,
well outside
right.
of that. So she has diversified.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
who's right? I think it really comes down to success. I find that success is measured on what you do and what you're happy with. You shouldn't be looking for success to others and compare yourself. Your goal is to be the best that you can be and always
right,
up the game to
right.
improve yourself. Because if you spend all of your time staring at the competition, right,
Yeah, yeah.
what are you going to get done? Because you're too worried about other people's business. You need
Right,
to you
right,
need to manage and worry about your own business because that's enough,
right.
isn't that?
Yeah,
Does that
yeah.
make sense? So
Yeah, and you shouldn't be comparing yourself to like that
no,
7 figure seller.
that's
Just
insecurity. I think
yeah,
you shouldn't
yeah,
you shouldn't compare. You should be able to sit down and fill a room with you being the dumbest ass in the room and learn. You need to be comfortable with that. You need to
yeah.
feel
That's
okay,
why I
fine.
created the summit. I
Yeah,
just, uh, yeah,
that's how you
to
grow.
learn from
So,
people smarter than me. Yeah,
yeah.
that's why
So,
I
and
wanted
there's
to do
nothing
the
wrong
summit.
with vulnerabilities and stuff like that. You just got
Yeah,
to, you got to, some cases people have to work on themselves for that. Envy
yeah,
and jealousy won't get you anywhere. Helping
right,
people will. That will help grow
right,
stuff. So
right,
the only person you should compare yourself to is yesterday's person of you. And did
100%.
yesterday take a
Yeah,
step forward to today? Yeah. How big was that growth? Great. Incremental steps. Keep growing that. So your comparison should be last year, last week, yesterday reflection, and how you grown as a person. That is going to be the most fundamental way of going forward with your business and also being happy, right? We've got to be happy in what we do. Like a lot of people wait to the end of the rainbow. Oh, what when I get to such and such, everything's going to be all right. Like money, right? Money will solve your money problems, but it won't fix a fucked up life around you if you don't have that in hand as well. Does that make sense?
right, right.
Anyway, I've
People say like
swore.
money
Uh,
just amplifies your personality. So if you're already
yeah,
messed up, you're even more messed up. But
yeah,
if you're doing
ex-
okay, you're still
it-
okay.
yeah, exactly. So, but what is good is to like with what you're doing with the summit. It's aspirational. It's looking at people and going, what can I learn from them? Can I take a small smidgen from those people there
Yeah,
and
yeah,
be able to grow my businesses? That's not
yeah,
envy. That's not jealousy. That's
yeah,
aspiration. And for me, there's nothing wrong with that because you're like, I
yeah,
love what they're doing there. Can I replicate this? Can I do this for
yeah.
myself?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And there's actually a saying in Chinese that's very similar to what you're saying, Danny. It's in Mandarins, 三人行之有我师,三人行之有我师. If there's any Chinese speakers watching today, it means when three people pass you by, one of them can be your teacher.
Yeah.
When three people walk past you, it could be that one thing that, it could be this or it could be that. But I think just having that humble, that mindset that helps you grow even more. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah, excellent.
Cool. Have we got anything else before we'll finish up in about 8 minutes or so? Is there stuff? Have we?
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. I still got some other
Let's whisper it in. Let's
some
make sure we've
nuggets.
got
Yeah.
plenty of content for
Okay,
people.
so
Yeah.
we've already covered day one mindset.
Yeah.
These are just highlights from day one. Day two, branding. Day three, scaling. Day four is all about profitability. So by now, you're having some success, but you want to make sure that you don't have like a leaky bucket. Okay, so
Yeah.
I brought on Tyler Jeffcoat. He
Yeah.
is known as the seller's accountant. So he works with a number of 7 and 8 figure Amazon and e-commerce store owners. And then when I asked him, what are some of the common mistakes that 7-figure sellers make? He said
Yeah.
many of them don't grade and fire their SKUs. And then he warned to beware of silent killers or products that keep you in the red, in the negative. In other words, watch out for products that you sell that not only not making money, but you're losing money on them. He recommends that sellers use a tool with a dashboard to track your sales and profits and losses, your P&L. Okay, so this way, if you find a SKU that's underperforming, he recommends that you put it on probation. Okay, try to rehab it and then where you look at ways to improve its profitability. If that doesn't work, then he says that you got to kill it. Okay, you got to put it out of its misery so it can stop killing your profit. So one of the takeaways is, grade and fire your skills. I'm actually guilty of this. I mean, some of the products, volume wise, it's moving a lot, but at the end of the day, it could be, break even or even a loss after, PPC and, all those like VAT and all that stuff. So definitely, I think that's a key takeaway for a lot of people.
Yeah. I think they call it trauma bonding with your SKUs.
Yeah. Some
so
people
it's like,
call it like a boat anchor also.
Well, it's that attachment. You don't want to let it go, do you?
Yeah. I can see Alan had said that as well. He's been prone to that. He's currently discontinuing products.
Exactly.
Alan,
cool. Let's whiz through some more. What you got there?
Definitely. Something else very interesting is you don't necessarily need to sell more to get more profits. Andy Humphrey, 7-figure e-commerce seller with a Shopify store selling sprinkler supplies. Okay, when COVID-19 hit him, his web traffic grew and grew so much it became a problem. Why? Because the growth was unexpected. So, normally, Cyber Monday, Q4, you expect that growth. You can plan for the peaks, hold more inventory, hire more staff to fulfill orders. COVID spike came out of nowhere. It was like black swan, right? They were not prepared for this. So the problem was the lack of manpower because he uses some drop shippers. And he says that his drop shippers, they furloughed their staffs during COVID. They couldn't keep up with the orders. So shipments were getting delayed, some not shipped at all. So what did he do? Andy actually experimented with ways to slow down sales while increasing his profits. Okay, so one of the ways was improving communications with customers first to let them know about the order delays, to cut down on the complaints and the negative feedback. And then also Andy tested with increasing his shipping prices, his shipping rates. And then after his test, he found out that they didn't impact his sales at all. So the customers are willing to pay more on shipping. So this was pure profit for him. So in fact, by doing this, along with a couple other experiments that he shared on the summit, there were just, 4 tactics. He was able to grow his profits by over $80,000 US in just the months during COVID, while his fulfillment network was undermined. So it just goes to show that increasing profitability doesn't necessarily mean selling more product. In fact, if you focus on product profit while decreasing your order volume, it can be a little counterintuitive, but it's true, when it comes to profitability.
Yeah. Cool. What we got next?
And then I think, as we're going to a close with that exit, one of the things, if you do want to exit is to have a clear goal with your business, whether you want it to be a cash cow or if you want to build it to sell. Okay. We talked about why you want to sell. And if you do want to sell, there's a couple important things to start from the initial setup of your business, so that you want to set up a separate LLC or a separate, company for each brand to make it more easily transferable to sell off. Mike Jackness shared that one of his biggest mistakes when he sold his brand Color It, for a 7-figure exit, it was that he had all his brands commingled into one single Amazon account. Okay. It wasn't in separate companies. It was a major pain in the butt to separate it. And probably he thought it cost him about a 0.5x multiple. Okay. So also, if you're building to sell, you need to build a moat around your business and, think strategically how you can keep out your competitors from penetrating your business. So this can range from having, again, proper trademarks, patents, brand protection, as well as creating a brand and an audience that you can sell to. So, people say creating a brand is like bringing a gun to a knife fight in the game of e-commerce, right? So, Alan Iov, Looming World, sold in hundreds of offline retailers like Bed Bath & Beyond. So customers see his brands offline and in stores. So he's not scared when it comes to the knockoffs, right? And then thirdly, when it comes to your business planning, you got to have the right business planning, including having a product roadmap, a marketing plan, channel diversification, even liability and product insurance. So these factors help tip the scales in your favor when you do decide to exit your business someday.
Yep. Cool. Right, I'm going to post a link here to the summit. For those who haven't got a free ticket, I've just posted there on the Facebook groups and onto the Seller Sessions YouTube. So it is 7 figures, seven-figure sellersummit.com. So go there, go and grab a free ticket. You still got a couple of days left. It's starts US time, doesn't it? So it started 2 hours ago, Wednesday. So you still got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to check out.
Yeah, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, guys. We have like 35 plus speakers, and everyone's different, right? I mean, remember that saying, out of 3 people, one of them can be your teacher. So
Yeah.
if you get a chance, definitely check it out. And there might be something special going on at the very end of the summit. If you miss anything for the first couple of days, just keep your eyes open for that. Just a little preview of coming attractions. All right.
Excellent. What is the best way to reach you, Gary?
Yeah, so you can email me, Gary at 8020sourcing.com. That's 8020sourcing.com. And I'm on Instagram as well, Gary Huang 8020, spelled the same way as my name, GaryHuang 8020.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Gary. Tomorrow I'll be doing another one of our in-depths. I'll announce more of that tomorrow. I'll be back here 4 p.m. BST. Take care of yourself, and most importantly, take care of your families, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.
All right. Thanks so much, Danny, and take care, everybody.